Liz, since you arrived in Bellator, you said this was your goal to get to a title. You have the opportunity to win it on Friday. How does it feel to be here?
It feels great, not only because this is just putting into fruition everything that I've been talking about and dreaming about, but also just to do it under the Bellator banner.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're coming off of a massive win, 35-second knockout, one of your best performances of your career. Did you kind of soak it in afterwards at all? Did it feel special to you as well? I know just like the quickness and the dominance and everything. Was that something pretty cool for you?
Yeah, it was. It took a little bit for it to kick in because you still have the adrenaline of like I anticipated 15 minutes and going out there, and when it's that brief, you're like I still have more to put out. What's going on here? But once I soaked in, I was really happy with my performance. Really happy that was able to set that stone in the path to going for the belt.
And you've done this for a while. I mean, we were just talking to Juliana, and like you were fighting for the UFC title before she even had an amateur fight. So, do you feel like despite that and being around, like that finish that you just had was kind of a reflection of like, hey, I'm still improving, I'm still putting all the pieces together and really rounding up my game?
That's exactly what it was. Coming into Bellator, I wanted to make sure that I was showing a new evolution and a new chapter of everything I've been working on. And the Watanabe fight just reflected exactly all that. That it was my intent, my going out there and implementing my will to get to here.
Juliana's been a impossible, task for everybody else to figure out. She's undefeated. Do you feel like that you see some things though that you could, take advantage of on Friday? Anything specific?
Big time. I mean, I was still training with Alima McFarland when she was fighting against Juliana. So I had studied tape in anticipation of that fight, not only in simulating how she fought, but also just to be able to pick apart her game to help Alima out. And so I had her game plan down then, and it wasn't implementing the right way, which ended up costing the fight. And then seeing her against Denise, I've just been able to pick it apart even more, knowing exactly what I need to do to defeat her on Friday.
Did you watch her last fight? And if so, did you think she won or did you think Denise won? I know there was some kind of controversy there.
Yeah, I think it was one of those fights where when it comes to if you go to decision and you're fighting against a champion, you have to exhaust all means and without a shadow of a doubt beat her. And Denise didn't do that. Denise didn't get into her range. I think if any of those combinations that she threw had been in her correct range, she was expecting Juliana to be a Muay Thai fighter and sit in the pocket with her. And she wasn't. She was striking and running away, striking, running away. But it wasn't a great performance to me to actually say that you're a champion. It was just enough to stay ahead and to stay safe.
And you talked about the things that you see from her that you can take advantage of. What are some of the things you got to be careful of? What do you think she does really well that you need to, be kind of leery of?
I think everybody talks about her being a black belt in judo, right? That's honestly like the most challenging thing. But at the same time, if the ground is where she wants to go, I'd love to show her what the ground looks like with me. So I don't think that's something she wants to use. I think she's going to want to keep it standing. And if there's nothing else to show in the Watanabe fight, she's not prepared for what I have to bring standing.
And I mentioned a minute ago how you've done this for so long and being back towards a title. Is there any sense of like, I need to capitalize on this moment just because you never know how many other chances that you're going to get?
Yeah, absolutely. Each of my fights with Bellator, I've been thinking about that exact thing is I have to capitalize and live in the moment and give everything I have in this fight. Not focusing, as much as I focused towards the belt, and that was what I was saying when I came into Bellator, I was really identifying each fight as being the most important fight I had and trying to put everything into it. And this is the same. This has to be the most important fight, get the belt, and the next one will be the most important fight, and so on and so forth.
And the card that you're on is a card that, it's built for military and first responders. Was that kind of special for you, given your background and everything, to be the one that's on the poster for this event?
Super special. Most of my friends, I was saying the other day, just telling someone, most of my friends are either first responders, veterans, or active duty military. Everybody that's coming out to come see it that I know, they're all first responders, military, or veteran. So it means a lot to be able to give back to that community, to be able to put on a show for them with people that I care so much about, because they're also my friends, but also knowing how much it builds morale and makes such a difference in their lives to watch something like this. So it means the world to me. Thank you.
Liz, you talked a little bit about helping Alima get ready for her fight. And so when you walk in to the cage, how much added confidence does that give you? Because it's almost like you had a study guide before the test a couple years ago.
Yeah, it definitely helps. I've been studying her and I was ready for it. And Alima had feedback that she was able to give me from her fight, what she experienced, mistakes she saw, the strengths and weaknesses that she felt from Juliana. So it definitely feels like I had a little bit of a cheat coming into this fight.
And fighting in Hawaii, you're a student of the game. You're someone who respects MMA. so much, and to know the history of MMA here in the state of Hawaii, how much pride do you take in being able to be in the main event of a fight here in the islands?
I take a lot of pride also because I grew up in Okinawa on an island. And when I came here, there were definitely moments the first time that I came to Hawaii to sign with Bellator where we were driving on and taking the bus. I was looking around and I forgot for a second that I wasn't home, where I connected so much and identified so many different markers just like Okinawa that it was a weird experience. So I take a lot of pride in being able to come and fight on an island for the belt and feel like I have a relationship with Hawaii that's very similar to home.
It's a little bit of a different question, but in terms of the time of the fight. Now I know every fight's different. I know some people fight in the morning. Here, since we're on such a weird time zone, the championship fights at 3 p.m. or whatever it is. Is that something that's different for you? Do you care if a fight is a little bit earlier? Do you prefer a little bit later? What is your view on that?
I'm honestly a little bit excited that it's earlier. I mean, all my fights in Connecticut, they were all with Bellator, all the fights were in Connecticut. So we got out by the time that we did post-conference and did medicals, almost midnight. Like I was running back to my hotel room to try and get my celebratory meal and to be able to enjoy life after. And there wasn't, everything was closed. So it's great to be able to do that. And I also train so many different times throughout the day that this lines up perfectly with one of my training cycles at home. So this is great timing.
Next question from Jay.
Hey Liz, welcome back. And as was mentioned, we did have Juliana in here just a few moments ago, and one of the things we asked was whether or not she considered you her toughest challenge to date. She actually said no. She said she considered maybe Alejandra Lara or someone else. Just curious if you wonder if you're being overlooked or maybe she's putting on a front.
I think in part it's a front, and if I am being overlooked, great. I love being the underdog and being underrated. It just makes it that much sweeter for me.
You talked about watching, obviously you helped Lena Lay prepare for that fight and then watching the Denise fight. How much of an evolution did you see in Juliana's game?
Zero. She looked like the same fighter in every fight that I've seen so far.
Next question, Kobe.
Hi Liz, you fought pretty much all of the top mixed martial artists in your division, and I'm wondering, who would you say she's most like as far as your opponents have been?
Most like. Not really many of them. Most of them are pretty engaging, and she definitely seems to be limited in striking and elusive and evasive. And in most opponents, I'd say that they were ready to just throw down, even if it wasn't their usual fighting style. That seemed to change when they would get in there with me.
Okay, and that being the case, do you feel like you're going to have to take the fight to her?
Absolutely.
Nice, good luck.
Thank you.
Dylan.
Hey Liz, nice to see you again.
You too.
Hi, sorry about that. You just alluded to you signed your Bellator contractual agreement originally right here in Hawaii. Now you're fighting for the flyweight world title in the same place. How does it feel to be back, not cornering a teammate, but this time fighting for a championship yourself?
It feels great. Like I was saying, is I feel such a special connection to Hawaii in that it seems very similar to Okinawa. And I've missed home for so much. I love tropical islands. I love the culture here and everything that I've seen firsthand, as well as experiencing it from Alima. So to come back and be able to fight on this island, it means a lot to me.
Last question, Sayed.
Hey Liz, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm very well. I just want to ask you one question. You're a spokesperson for CBD and the therapeutic benefits for athletes. I just want to ask you how you got involved with that and how much does CBD help you in your career?
I recently got involved with CBD from one of my training partners at our gym. He did jiu-jitsu and he was a veteran, and he'd made some recommendations about trying to use CBD because I was probably complaining that something was aching or sore or injured. And at that time, I was just so uneducated about CBD and unaware of its medicinal benefits that I was totally turned away from possibly even trying it. But I also saw characteristically who he was as a person, his professional charisma that he had as well. And I was like, okay, well, this guy is well put together. Maybe it's not what I think it is. And as I did more research, I thought it was something I could try out to aid in recovery and to get away from using Motrin and ibuprofen. And once I used it, I realized just how good it was. And it was something that I needed to have in my everyday life. Because when you're in the Marine Corps, it's always, here's Motrin, here's ibuprofen, take 800 milligrams of this, and don't worry about the 27 side effects that come with it. and you don't really see that with CBD. So I use it daily, I'd say for the most part. I have like a CBD coffee that I use. I'll do topicals to help treat any inflammation, any bruising, any pain, and any anxiety that pops up.
Thank you so much, Liz. That concludes our time.